Trinidad and Tobago state-owned oil refinery announces plans to shut down operations. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, August 28. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Petrotrin confirmed at a news conference on Tuesday that it is ending oil refinery operations within the next month. To approximately 2,600 workers would be affected. In a statement issued after the press conference, the cash-strapped company described the closure as a restructuring exercise geared at curtailing losses and returning to a path of sustainable profitability. It said it would end oil refining operations at Pointe-à-Pitre as it is no longer producing enough oil to operate efficiently. Presently, Petrotrin produces approximately 40,000 barrels of oil a day, and the refinery operates at a capacity of 140,000 barrels a day. The statement said the company plans to redesign its entire exploration and production business, which will then have approximately 800 workers. Chairman Wilfred Espinay said with the termination of the refining operations and the redesigning of the exploration and production, Petrotrin will be able to independently finance all of its debt and become a sustainable business. Petrotrin has lost over 8 billion TT dollars in the last 5 years, and it is $12 billion in debt and owes the government of Trinidad and Tobago more than $3 billion in taxes and royalties. According to the Petrotrin statement, the company requires a cash injection of $25 billion to remain operational, refresh its infrastructure, and repay its debt. And even with that, if left as is, it is projected to continue losing about $2 billion a year. The period of transition will begin on October 1st. Petrotrin said the board of directors is taking all requisite steps to facilitate a smooth and efficient period of transition, with safety and the security of the country's fuel supply being its two priorities. The company will be meeting with all its stakeholders during the coming weeks to discuss how the proposed changes may affect them. Meanwhile, the Oilfield Workers Trade Union, the OWTU, says it will vigorously oppose the refinery's closure, addressing workers and the media following a meeting with Petrotrin's board of directors on Tuesday. OWTU President General Ansel Roger said the union will not stand idly by and allow the shutdown. He said the proposal is madness and told workers that the union has rejected it.
Trinidad and Tobago will rue the day. We will regret the day if ever that proposal is allowed to take effect. This country will spin into chaos and confusion and mayhem if they are allowed to go down that road. We must not by no way, shape or form, intention or otherwise, allow them to go down the road of destruction for Trinidad and Tobago. No, we must not allow that. We must use, and we will use, any or every influence that we have, wherever we have it, however we get it, to bring to bear in defense of a viable Petrotrin. And note, I say, a viable Petrotrin first, because it is with a viable Petrotrin you can then have sustainable employment.
Roger said the union will do everything in its power to ensure the proposal does not see the light of day.
We wait to see what will happen next week. They say on Monday we are going to work with that committee. We have our persons ready to work to detail all of the figures for us to tell them how we can have the company viable, and of course to question them as to how they arrive at what they arrived at, and to impress upon them that that is the wrong way to go.
Roger said the cash-strapped company could be turned around to become a viable entity and insisted that the proposals submitted by the union should be given a chance to be implemented. He said the union had no confidence in the government or the board of the state-owned energy company. Well, opposition leader Kamala Prasad Bisesa is urging the government to take a cautious and pragmatic approach to the petrotrain issue. She said how the restructuring is handled will have immediate and long-term effects on the national economy, and as such the government should not pursue the matter in an ad hoc manner. Prasad Bisesa charged that while people have been concerned about massive job losses and how that will impact an already declining economy, they have been forced to endure endless gimmicks by the government instead of a sober and deliberate message on the state of the country's affairs. Grenada is preparing to launch its campaign for a second referendum on whether or not to replace the London-based Privy Council with the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, as the island's final court. The launch will be on Wednesday under the theme Breaking the Chains of Colonialism for One Caribbean, and Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley will be the featured speaker. Attorney General Sir Lawrence Joseph, who is also the chairman of the CCJ Advisory Committee, said Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell will officially announce the date of the referendum, which is scheduled to be held in the last quarter of 2018. There has been widespread speculation that Grenada and Antigua and Barbuda will hold their respective referendum on the same day, November 6th. Sir Lawrence said that following the launch of the campaign, which will take the form of a national consultation, the CCJ Advisory Committee will embark on a number of other events. In 2016, Grenadians voted against accepting the CCJ in a 7-bill referendum that included other issues such as the fixed appointment of a leader of opposition, a fixed date for general elections, and restricting the tenure of a prime minister to a 2-term limit. None of the measures were accepted. School will be in session next week. That's the assurance from Guyana's Ministry of Education as the Teachers Union began a nationwide strike on Monday to press for pay increases. The ministry says it has a contingency plan in place if the strike action spills into the new school term, which begins next Monday, September 3rd. Chief Education Officer Marcel Hudson says if teachers stay away, 300 teachers from the Cyril Potter College of Education, that's the country's teacher training college, will step in. In a release issued yesterday evening, the ministry said the services of retired teachers and parents will also be utilized. Hudson said the contingency plan is to ensure the strike has minimal impact on students. On Monday, teachers stayed away from pre-commencement activities at the various schools across the country. Some also marched and picketed the office of President David Granger. In Barbados, a top Caribbean jurist has advised that the proposed Integrity in Public Life bill won't be enough to keep politicians honest. The warning came from former parliamentarian, cabinet minister, attorney general and chief justice Sir David Simmons as he addressed a rare open hearing of the Joint Select Committee of Parliament on the bill on Monday. Sir David, who helped establish the Turks and Caicos Islands Integrity Commission, which he currently chairs, says an Integrity in Public Life Act must be part of a package of related laws for it to get the job done of fighting corruption. He suggested there be a code of conduct which provides for sanctions for breach of the code, legislation to regulate campaign financing of political parties, and a Freedom of Information Act. Sir David said those measures combined would ensure that Barbados has taken proper steps towards providing minimum standards for good governance and the conduct of persons in public life. Still in Barbados, the insurance company linked to the money laundering charges filed against former Minister of Commerce Donville Innes will not be facing the United States law courts. And that's the case even though the U.S. Department of Justice found that the Insurance Corporation of Barbados Limited, the ICBL, had paid Innes $36,000 in bribes to get 2 government contracts and had realized almost $94,000 in net profits from the ill-gotten contracts. We get more in this CBC News report.
Correspondence on the U.S. Department of Justice's website confirms that there will be no legal ramifications for ICBL. After weeks of speculation about which local company was named in the money laundering allegations against former government minister Donville Innes, the company announced via media release that the U.S. Department of Justice has closed its investigation of 2 improper payments made by the ICBL back in 2015 and 2016. ICBL says that key factors influencing the department's decision to close the investigation without charging the company include ICBL's swift self-disclosure of the payments to the Department of Justice, the robust cooperation of its Board of Management, and the company's remediation, including the fact that all executives and employees involved in the misconduct are no longer at the company. In addition, the company agreed to disgorge almost $94,000 obtained from any contracts associated with the improper payments. ICBL Chairman John White says he is pleased that the investigation of ICBL is closed, adding that the company is in good hands under the leadership of its new CEO, Jeffrey Scott, and is fully focused on serving its customers and stakeholders with excellence.
Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, the son of a government minister is St. Kitts and Nevis's latest murder victim. The details of that story and more after the break.
Well, lost in all the hubbub this week about the Manafort verdicts and the Cohen plea deal was another example of the nanny state run amok. And of course, that story originates in California. Senate Bill 1192 overwhelmingly passed and is now on its way to Governor Jerry Brown's desk, where it's almost certain to be signed into law. The bill will require that restaurants offering kids meals must restrict the drinks included with these meals to only water or unflavored milk.
This month on Caribbean Passport, we check out the launch of the Barbados Food and Rum Festival, stop off in Antigua and Barbuda for their annual showcase, fall in love with the Caribbean aesthetic at Levy, and so much more. See it all right here on this station.
The son of a senior government minister in St. Kitts was gunned down on Monday night, and Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris has urged anyone with information about the murder to come forward. Police confirmed that Mikhail Mitch Liburd, the son of the Minister of Public Infrastructure, Posts, Urban Development and Transport, Ian Patches Liburd, was killed as he got off of his vehicle shortly after 10 p.m. Media reports said Liburd was shot several times by at least 3 armed and masked men. His murder brings to 20 the number of people killed so far this year. The police have not issued any further details on the killing. In a statement issued on Tuesday, Prime Minister Harris offered condolences to Minister Liburd, and in his capacity as Minister of National Security, he encouraged citizens to provide any information that they deem relevant to the investigation into the fatal shooting. Harris assured Liburd, whom he referred to as his dear friend, trusted colleague and confidant, that he could count on the government to give him the emotional support needed during this incredibly painful time. He said the whole country stood with him and the cabinet would only grow closer in this ordeal. The private sector organization of Jamaica is concerned about traffic jams in the corporate area due to the multiple road works by government and the productivity of its workers. But Prime Minister Andrew Holness is defending the work, saying Jamaicans have to get used to the pace of growth. The government is spending billions of dollars to upgrade major road segments in Kingston and St. Andrew in order to facilitate seamless travel by the commuting public and enhance connectivity to major markets and commercial centers. But the increased road construction in the corporate area is resulting in longer journeys on the road and less time in the workplace. And private sector companies say more employees are coming in late and leaving early to beat the traffic. We get more in this TVJ news report.
wasted can never be regained, and in the world of business, time is money. But for the past few months, local businesses have been losing. The traffic pileup in the city keeps tens of thousands of workers stranded for up to 3 hours in some cases. That's 3 hours which could have been spent productively in the workplace. Chief Executive Officer of the private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ Jennifer MacDonald, says her members are complaining about losing more hours of productivity in the day.
Business is inconvenienced generally, even though people do understand, but on a day-to-day basis, it really is very problematic for the staff and so on. So we're losing more days, more hours, I should say, in the day.
And what happens when you're finally able to tunnel through the traffic and make it to work?
You're tired when you get to work, you know, so we have to consider those things. I had one person telling me that she was upset with staff member for coming late, and when the staff member explained to her what she had to go through, then she said, boy, you know, I might have been a bit too harsh.
It makes you just want to go home and go sleep, honest to God.
About 15-20 minutes now, and I just move about few, maybe less than half a chain.
Normally it would have take like 15 minutes to reach where I'm going. Is like an hour and a half in traffic, and it's really annoying.
It's really obstructing the ability to move around, and especially at this time, middle of the day, normally you wouldn't have so much traffic. I think they need to do something about managing the traffic better so that the construction doesn't affect the traveling public, because we have stuff to do.
But it's not all bad. Private sector companies are being reminded that these short-term inconveniences are in an effort to provide long-term benefits.
It's all positive. We don't hear anybody complaining about the direction of a country when you're seeing these things. It's always seen positively. And yes, there may be some disruption in terms of moving around as we are doing the construction. But the hope is that, you know, this outlay, this inconvenience of what's going on can be minimized, as the Prime Minister has said, but is expected to yield greater benefit in the future.
And ahead in Newsline, sport wins for the Windward Islands, Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago as the regional Under-19 one-day championship continues. Stay with us. Sport is next.
This hurricane tip comes to you, compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Take photos of important documents and secure them in waterproof containers or bags.
Drove up today to Vermont, been on the water a couple hours, and my assessment is as follows. A lot more difficult than I thought. Thought the fishing would be a little bit better. Can't wait to get a big bite. Getting a little frustrated, not concerned about anything other than a big fish. I'm a little bit hungry. I could use a few more beers. I would like to have a cigar right now. If you want to give me a 4-pounder at the end of my Kermit the Frog, I'd be happy, and I would smile, and I would shake your hand.
We try to understand, because it's very important that people understand how you can influence positively the change of law. What were your arguments for the minimum wage to be 10.10, was it?
Yep. So, you know, we believe fundamentally that hard work deserves fair pay. And when we are paying workers $7.25 an hour,
West Indies Under-19's batting star Kimani Melia struck a scintillating century to headline the 6th round of the regional Under-19 one-day championship, and that as Windward Islands easily disposed of Canada by 79 runs on Monday. Playing at Park Hill, Windwards piled up 310 for 7 of their 50 overs, with opener Melius stroking 102 of 58 balls and crushing 13 fours and half-dozen sixes. Michael Joseph struck 90, while Lincoln Durand got 33 not out, and Jonel Eugene 23. In reply, Canada were 93 for 6 in the 20th over before Kavian Naresh top scored with 71, and Rishiv Joshi chipped in with 36 to keep the innings afloat. Naresh counted 6 fours and 2 sixes off 74 deliveries, putting on 76 for the 7th wicket with Nicholas Manoa, but the target proved out of reach. At the Arnesville Stadium, Trinidad and Tobago made light work of Guyana, defeating them by 4 wickets. Seamer, Rivaldo, Ramlogan snatched 3 for 27 as Guyana, choosing to bat first, were dismissed for 116 in the 38th over. Kevlon Anderson top scored with 42, but Guyana collapsed from 82 for 4 in the 20th over to lose their last 6 wickets for just 34 runs. In reply, TNT's run chase was less than convincing, but Leonardo Julian, who got 24, and Joshua James, who ended on 23 not out, ensured there was no Guyana comeback. At Sion Hill, Barbados slipped to a shock 3-wicket defeat to Jamaica after being dismissed cheaply for 77 in the 34th over, with the left-arm spinner Raywin Sr. grabbing 4 for 28. Barbados were tottering on 54 for 9 in the 28th before Joshua Bishop and Shamar Prasad added 23 for the last wicket. Jamaica then cruised to 40 for 1 before leg spinner Kamari Boyce figures of 4 for 25 unsettled the innings, but opener Kirk McKenzie and Senior made the difference. Meanwhile, Melies had been named in a 14-man squad led by Anthony Bramble for Cricket Canada's Summerfest, and that's according to a release issued Tuesday by Cricket West Indies. Summerfest, which runs from August 29 to September 7, will see the team play a series to include 4 T20s, including a warm-up, along with 2 50-overs matches. CWI Director of Cricket Jimmy Adams says the tour to Canada will provide another opportunity for young players to gain experience in the shorter formats. He said the itinerary would allow CWI to look at players who are not involved with the ongoing CPL. Adams says the tournament has the potential to assist the player development processes by exposing more younger players to more competitive environments. The Windies B team was in Canada a few months ago and was a beaten finalist in the inaugural Global T20. And West Indies fast bowler Ronsford Beaton's career was handed a huge boost on Tuesday when the International Cricket Council cleared him to resume bowling in international cricket. The 25-year-old played 2 one-day internationals against New Zealand last December, but was reported by match officials for a suspect action following second ODI in Christchurch. He was subsequently banned last May after failing an independent assessment. But Beaton underwent remedial work on his action, and the ICC said it now conformed to the 15-degree level of tolerance under their regulations. Beaton is currently a member of the Trinbago Knight Riders squad participating in the ongoing Caribbean Premier League, but he is yet to play a game. Over in Trinidad and Tobago, where the senior football squad is gearing up for a major assignment in September. TV6's Vinod Nawani tells us more.
Trinidad and Tobago's footballers leave these shores on Sunday for their friendly against the United Arab Emirates on September 6th. The 20-man squad is as follows. The goalkeepers are Adrian Fonsett and Marvin Phillip. The defenders are Sheldon Bato, Daniel Cyrus, Aubrey David, Curtis Gonzalez, Tristan Hodge and Keston Julian. The midfielders are Kivan George, Naveal Hackshaw, Akeem Humphrey, Kaleem Highland and Dwayne Marquette. The attacking midfielders are Levi Garcia, Atula Guerra, Jovan Jones, Nathan Lewis, Keithan St. Hilaire and Jamal Williams, and the lone forwarders Shardon Winchester. Coach Dennis Lawrence says, while there are plans to rebuild for the next World Cup campaign, the upcoming CONCACAF Gold Cup qualifiers must be given top priority. As such, he says the upcoming friendly is going to be very important.
The players now have the opportunity to come in and put themselves in frame to fight for a position, because we need competition. That's important. We have to have a competitive squad, and going into this game, we're going to challenge ourselves in a different way. Me, the head coach, I'm going to challenge myself in terms of, right, can we go and win the game? That's the objective. The objective is to try and win the game.
Regarding the opposition, Lawrence has utmost respect for UAE.
It's going to be a good challenge. It's exciting opposition. The UAE has always done well against Trinidad and Tobago in the past. I've looked at them in recent, and they've got a decent team, a manager who knows exactly what he's doing. So it's going to be a good test for us.
Defence Force player Curtis Gonzalez is looking forward to the trip to UAE, saying that the Pro League competition has helped him with his preparations.
It's a great opportunity once again to represent my country, and I'm very happy and excited that this game has come around because it's a while now we didn't play any international games. So I'm comfortable and willing to get this work done to play this game.
Names that have missed out include midfielder Leston Paul and goalkeeper Jean-Michael Williams, while the injured Kevin Molino is recovering.
Bermuda striker Naki Wells, who has settled in Wales at the start of his loan spell at London club Queen's Park Rangers, that's QPR, has confirmed he intends to end his 3-year international exile later this year. Wells, a former national team captain, last played for Bermuda on the international stage in 2015 when he scored twice in a World Cup qualifier at home against the Bahamas. But after moving to English Championship outfit QPR from Premier League club Burnley on a 12-month loan last week, he assured national coach Kyle Lightburn that he will make himself available for Bermuda's CONCACAF Nations League qualifying matches. He will miss Bermuda's opener away against Aruba on September 10, but plans to be involved in the island's 2 home matches against St. Martin and El Salvador in October and November. All qualifying matches will be held during the international breaks. And finally, in horse racing, Barbadian Rocco Bowen produced a strong stretch drive with favourite Sippin' Fire to snatch the U.S. $50,000 Washington Cup Sophomore Stakes at Emerald Downs on Sunday. The 2-time reigning champion at the Pacific Northwest Oval sat Sippin' Fire off the pace before taking command near the quarter pole and storming to the wire 3 1/4 lengths clear in a time of 1 minute 35.89 seconds.
Claim to the lead as they kick off the turn and run for home. From between horses, Boundary Bay continues to fight on. Elliott Bay takes a big run at the inside, 200 yards to go. And Sippin' Fire is drawing away. Elliott Bay at the inside and Boundary Bay. But Sippin' Fire has won his 4th consecutive stakes appearance.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Coming to New Jersey, the official national soccer team of Jamaica will face the national team of Ecuador. September 7th, 8 p.m. at the Red Bull Arena. Jamaica versus Ecuador with all their stars. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com or at the stadium and at a Delgado travel agency near you. Free admission for children under 10. Restrictions apply. Jamaica versus Ecuador. Brought to you by SPD Sports. Don't miss this exciting match.
It's my first year, the first of the 3 that they've been doing. It will not be my last, but it's beautiful to celebrate everything that we contribute to the society that we live in, as well as music. Music is such a universal language. It bridges gaps. It soothes souls. It's just so many different things all wrapped into one. And when we contribute our part of it, it just becomes even that much more magical.
It's off the chain. And to see us, look at this. Demetria McKinney, House of Pain. Y'all know who this is, right?
Again, the major developments of this day: Trinidad and Tobago state-owned oil refinery announces plans to shut down operations within the next month, affecting approximately 2,600 workers. And in sport, wins for the Windward Islands, Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago as the regional under-19 one-day championship continues. Now that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CarnaNews.com. We'll be back here tomorrow, but until then, do have yourselves a very good night.